So, spent the whole night building warhammers, painting them, and getting ready for some theory crafting and everything when the news just came to me the next morning. And I just couldn't believe it. It just seemed impossible to think that Kamala Harris was the 2020 running mate for Joe Biden. Now, I understand the reasoning for the choice, and I understand that he had to tick a certain level of boxes, female, black, I guess Indian American as well. And it just still didn't seem to add up to me because usually I understand where people are coming from. When Hillary Clinton was nominated, I kind of got it. When Tim Kaine was a running mate, I kind of got it. When Romney was running, I kind of got it. I understand what's going on here. I just don't seem to really understand Kamala Harris. So I started looking into it a little bit, but still, it just doesn't seem to me like it's gonna be a choice that's gonna pan out. So if you think about it hard, who would you have expected? Maybe Klobuchar, maybe Susan Rice, maybe or really anybody else. But yet here we are with Kamala Harris, however you want to say her name. I don't think it's racist or whatever you call her, Kamala. I mean, my name's you don't need to know my name, but it's a foreign name, and it gets butchered all the time. I don't wake up in the morning calling everybody that butchered my name the previous day a racist, but whatever. That's not here nor there. The real question here is, can she really bring this home for Joe Biden? And frankly, I don't believe it. I watch her on the news, I watch her on the Colbert Report and all that crap, and she's not a likable person. I can't imagine anybody thinking that's presidential material. I mean, say what you want about Trump, he at least owns the room when he's in there. Say what you want about Biden, at least he's been around politics for long enough. But Kamala Harris, I mean, she's California senator. She's been senator for how long? I mean, I guess that makes her qualified, but when you're on the same stage as a Cory Booker, you know, that's that's a tall order, or even a Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, with the potential that was there, I mean, there was plenty of people that could have reached across the aisle, but to bring in Kamala Harris to think she's gonna fill in whatever gaps Joe Biden has mentally and categorically for the voting base, it's just no, I don't think it's gonna happen. The one thing we do see is that over the last few weeks, ever since the announcement has been made, it just seems like every other news story wants to say Kamala Harris is a moderate. And I'm not going to go into all of the different polls that say that she's the most liberal candidate in the Senate. I believe that, being that she's from California, but I just more believe that she is unyielding more so about her positions. I don't think that she's necessarily a super liberal. I think maybe she's just very much someone that wants to control her power and wield it in that specific way. She won't talk to a Republican. She won't talk to a Republican in the California Senate. She won't talk to a Republican out here in the East Coast. So what do you think is going to happen when she's in the Oval Office? Because we all know she's going to be in the Oval Office. This is an election for Joe Biden. This is both an election against Trump and to see which VP we can sneak under the radar to get into the Oval Office. So if you just think about it, how did she do in the primaries? It just doesn't make sense. None of it adds up to assume that this person is going to be popular enough to make it into the White House. I mean, you had your Klobuchars that made it well into the primaries. You had even your Warren who made it pretty well in. Your Sanders. I mean, there were so many options. And Kamala Harris, she dropped out before Tulsi Gabbard even. At least Tulsi has some sort of, specific backing. There was no underground support for Kamala Harris. There was no progressive support for Kamala Harris. There was no moderate support for Kamala Harris. I don't get it. I've been looking at all the bumper stickers because everywhere you are, you either see a Trump bumper sticker or a Bernie bumper sticker. But I've yet to see any Biden bumper stickers. There's a couple that I see in some more major metropolitan areas, but when you go outside the cities, it's usually a pretty good litmus test for the general feel of where this country is at. And I've seen no Joe Biden stickers, and even less Biden Harris stickers. So I gotta ask, who whose idea was it? I mean, who's actually excited for this? I just don't see it, and the biggest problem I have here is that in 2016, Hillary Clinton didn't lose the election so much because she was so unlikable. It's because there was no enthusiasm there. and it was a competitive enthusiasm. I think it's the same problem Mitt Romney had. People thought he was all right, same with John McCain, Republicans. These are all right candidates, but they weren't enthusiastic candidates. They were just fillers, and then Obama comes along, and that's a candidate people got excited for. He was charismatic. He was the ultimate expression of the progressive Democrat Party in such a well-formed package that could be put on every poster. You could put him out on a stage, and he could get the crowd excited, and that's so important. That that electricity that's required. Regardless of how you feel about him, he was, he brought a crowd. Same thing with Donald Trump. He's able to bring a crowd. He's able to draw voters out. And we saw that in 2016. And no matter how much you want to say that 2016 was Hillary lost it or anything, no. If anything, Trump won it because he brought crowds out. Do you think Joe Biden's going to bring crowds out? Do you think Kamala Harris is going to make people want to weather the to try and get out there? No. Let's be real here. Nobody wants this person there. No, nobody's going to go into the driving snow to vote for Kamala Harris. No one's going to trust Joe Biden to 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 be the moderate that they expect him to be, or to allow Kamala Harris to not just take over. Joe Biden hasn't even done an appearance since then, and we're supposed to sit here and assume that he's gonna he's gonna somehow fix everything. He's gonna be the moderate candidate. No, let's be real here. He's the transition candidate. He has admitted it, and there's just no chance in the world that he's gonna be the real president. This is gonna be kind of Bush 2.0. They said when Bush was president, he wasn't the real president. He was the figurehead for Dick Cheney. And even at that point, he was at least landing on aircraft carriers, showing he was there and electrifying some of the crowds. But wow, you think Joe Biden, considering that we are now in an era where a VP can be a shadow candidate, that Joe Biden is going to be a leader in front of Kamala Harris? No, no, God, no. If Kamala Harris couldn't get 1% of the primary vote on her side, what do we think is going to happen on a national level? And I'm not here to say anything about cheating or the mail-in ballots or anything like that. I'm assuming a clean election, because at the end of the day, my idea is that once you're running an election, there are so many people in this country that if all of the people that live here and are eligible to vote go out and vote the way they should do and perform their civic duty, it would take so much cheating to overbear that population, the exponentiality of how many votes that actually is, that it would be too obvious. So I don't say there's not any cheating. We all know about gerrymandering. We all know about ballot harvesting and all these different things that both sides do. At the end of the day, I would say it's either a wash or it gets drowned out by the mass of people that actually should be voting. I did want to talk about one more thing, and it's the polls that have come out ever since the Kamala Harris announcement. So here on the screen, I brought up the ABC News Washington Post poll. This poll has me wondering quite a bit about what's actually going on here. They keep saying that Joe Biden is about 9 points ahead of Donald Trump, which is just before the margin of error. And this is actually less than where we were when Hillary Clinton was running, and we all saw what happened then. And I'm not saying that the polls haven't been adjusted since then, but I do have a little bit of an idea that the polls have not been adjusted. So if you look through here, we have all these different polls saying, here's where we are now, here's the comparative analysis to 2016, and some of them go all the way back to 96. There's just all these comparisons, and it's a breakdown on enthusiasm and all that. But at the very end of the poll, you have the very specific one that just asks, hey, who are you going to vote for? And it says, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris by a 9-point margin. And that to me seems like, yeah, okay, that's, I guess we got to believe it as a poll, right? They would do their due diligence. They are the scientists here, right? But then you go down even further, and you look at the methodology and the way that this poll was conducted, and the breakdown of the political leanings of these pollsters, or however you want to call it. I don't know what they're called. People that are calling or answering their phones whenever they're polled. Getting past initially just the fact that you're only polling people that are answering their phones. I mean, how many young people do you think answer their phones to these spam calls? How many middle-aged? I mean, this is just what grandmas that are sitting in their basement, or in the nursing home by themselves these days. Let's not forget that the people that are answering these calls are bored out of their minds because they've been under house arrest for the last 5 months. So they're taking any call that they can because their grandkids haven't been calling them. So putting that aside, let's just look at the specific numbers here. What do we see here? We see that it's almost a 60-40 split, as usual with this polling, Democrats versus Republicans. So you're going to tell me that Joe Biden has a 9-point lead if you assume that 60% of voters are Democrats? That's that doesn't add up. I mean, if anything, that means he has less of a lead. Because if it was 50-50, once you break out that middle, Trump should have a 2-point lead. But yet, here they are telling us once again that Joe Biden has a 7-point lead or a 9-point lead or whatever point lead they want to say, all because he put Kamala Harris on his ticket. That's just not the case. When you give me these numbers where it's a 50-50 split, where it's not just random phone calls across the country, when it's just an actual survey of more than 1,000 people, and don't give me the whole diminishing returns and there's a certain point of deviation after 97% when you have more than 1,000 people. I get the science of it, all right, but something doesn't add up here, especially when you have a 50. It's not even a 50-50 split Democrat Republican. To me, the way it seems is they should have made the phone calls, and then once they hit 400 Republicans and they hit 400 Democrats, that's where they stop the polling. And let's do it there. But no, as you see here, it's a 60-40 split once again. But, that's just me. Maybe I'm the idiot here. But somehow none of this feels real. This all feels like a big joke. We've got a candidate hiding in a basement for the last however many months. Who knows if we're going to have a debate? We all know if we're going to have a debate or not. And it's just, I felt I wanted to say something because at this point in time, it's people need to know the truth. And my truth might not be real, but it's my truth. Isn't that what they say? Speak your truth, live your truth. So that's my truth. This is the polls as I see them. This is how I feel about Kamala Harris. How I feel about VP Joe Biden running for president. It just feels weird. I woke up the other day and I saw all this, and I haven't been able to kind of come to grips with it yet. Yeah, this has nothing to do with anything else going on in the country. And just very specifically looking at the political algebra here, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. If I were to say who we're going to choose for a VP option, I would have said Amy Klobuchar. I'm not going to assume that the black vote is just going to go vote for whoever's black. I don't think that's true. I just don't think that's true. I mean, if we look at other polling, it's definitely not true. If we look how the election went last time, it's definitely not true. So I would say, there's just, I think people are smarter than that. I think this pandering isn't going to go anywhere. At the end of the day, I think there's a very specific part of the American nation that, yeah, will be pandered to, and they will vote according to the pandering. But I think even more than that, there's enough people out there that have enough access to enough information to show, hey, maybe Klobuchar would have been a good pick. She did a lot of work. She put the legwork in. She was a good campaigner. She was a good debater. She's a smart lady. Even Pete Buttigieg. As far as he got, how was he not considered? It just I don't get it. It's too hard to grasp, and I think me just being a guy here trying to grasp it, if it's so confusing to me, just a regular person, I can't imagine that this country as a whole, even half of it, the half that's probably going to vote Democrat anyways, I can't imagine any of them woke up and said, "Hey, this is the right decision." It might feel like it was the how do you call it? The obvious decision, but I don't think anyone thought it was the right decision. I don't think anyone thought it was going to be the winning decision. But here we are. Um, Maybe in a few months I'll be eating my words, and we'll see. But as my prediction stands, at this point, I think might be one of the weakest decisions that this campaign has made so far, followed by the hiding, and of course followed by just announcing so much polls. But you know, that's enough for today. I think that's probably the most we can get out of this conversation. There's not really any reason to talk about it further until they start actually doing some sort of debates or some pressers or anything like that. But currently, as it stands, with just their name recognition and the ticket being as it is, without any sort of questions being asked, without any sort of pressers being done, I don't think it's in there. I don't think it's there. I just really think it's going to be a life support campaign, hoping to limp across the finish line, hoping for some sort of October surprise. A lot of us thought that this whole situation going on was going to be a big problem that was going to lead to pretty obvious election. But you know, uh, just like happened in 2016, how do you beat a candidate, or how do you lose to a candidate as unlikable as Donald Trump? You bring out somebody even more unlikable. And I can't think of anybody as unlikable as Hillary Clinton or that kind of creepy looking Tim Kaine than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So, I mean, good luck to them. Hopefully they can run a pretty good campaign, but I just don't see it. Doesn't seem like it's in the cards to me, especially now with the economy doing what it's doing and that we're under 10% again. That's what they really got to fight. It's the economy stupid. Anyways, that's stupid signing off. Have a good night.